Okay. So, welcome to the first meditation for my practice, Inventive Wellness. And the first thing I'm going to invite you to do is just to allow your body to breathe in the way that feels most naturally pleasant. Throughout this meditation, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's just a continual practice of tuning into what feels naturally okay for your body and spirit. No urgency, no strain, the just right amount of effort to invite yourself into what feels good. So, with that, I'll offer three core reminders that I offer at the beginning of every practice. The first reminder is simply that nothing about you needs to be any different. Even at those times where we're looking to make changes in our life, the sort of paradoxical thing is that when we treat ourselves as enough as we are, then we can live into organic change in the healthiest and most sustainable way possible. The second reminder is that everything I offer, all instructions I offer are invitations. So if something I offer doesn't feel good, don't do it. Yes, I have some expertise, but I'm not the expert. You are the expert on your experience. So if something feels acutely painful or like I don't want to go there, don't do it. You're the one that ultimately knows what feels like a healthy challenge versus what feels like this is too uncomfortable, painful. I don't want to go there. And finally, last reminder is there's no such thing as a distraction. So thoughts, outside sounds and sensations, pets, animals, kids, these are all parts of the living, breathing environment that we are a part of, all a part of the organic unfolding of this life. And so we don't treat those things as bad. We don't treat those things as things that we have to like force away. We just practice holding all that's in our environment as best as we can. So continuing to breathe, breathing in the way that feels most naturally pleasant. I'll invite you next to connect with the sense of the earth beneath you, always there supporting you. Then taking a moment to connect with the sense of the space around you. And finally, connecting with the sense of the sky above you. Then coming from that broader space and just coming to a sense of your personal space, becoming aware of the space around you that feels like yours. And really just trying to hold that space around you with a sense of care. Holding the space around you just in a way that feels pleasant. If you notice there might be tension there, just bringing a sense of ease in the space around you if that is accessible in this moment. And then next we'll practice coming to our senses. First, coming to your sense of sight and just allowing your eyes to do what they naturally want to do. If they want to wander, let them wander. If they want to fixate, let them fixate. If they want to rest, let them rest. Really just practicing enjoying being in connection with your sense of sight. Not needing to grasp for anything, not needing to make anything happen, just enjoying your senses. And And then connecting with your sense of touch. And just enjoying being in connection with your sense of touch. You can engage in self-massage if that feels good. You can notice a sense of the air or the clothes against your skin. Just enjoying whatever aspects are naturally there without needing to make anything happen. Really, all of this is a practice of accessing naturally available nourishment or non-addictive pleasure. Truly, nourishment is almost always available to us. But in our very fast-paced culture that has so many different things pushing and pulling on our dopamine receptors through social media and other things, we don't have much time or much practice that supports us in just accessing what's naturally good and here at most, if not all times. Continuing to breathe, breathing in the way that feels the most naturally pleasant, welcoming any stretching, shaking it out, bodily adjustments, whatever you need to do to make your body feel good. Movement is welcome throughout this meditation. So if you want to be still, be still. If you want to rock back and forth, rock back and forth. If you want to fidget and shake, or if you want to stretch, welcome those things. It's all a practice of just listening to your body, listening to your spirit, and how it wants to be moment to moment. Also welcoming any sounds your body wants to make, sighs, yawns, burps, farts, groans, letting your body be a body. If you have a yawn or a sigh or a groan, not cutting it off, not needing to cover your mouth. We're so used to having to be in polite company and hide all these natural ways that our body regulates itself. Let your yawn be as big as it wants to be. And continuing to breathe, breathing in the way that feels most naturally pleasant. We'll invite a little bit of deeper breathing. So on your next inhale, you can breathe into the back of your lungs, allowing your upper back to expand as you inhale. Next, adding in your lower back. And then finally adding in your belly, allowing your belly to be soft as you breathe, breathing with your whole torso. When we're stressed and activated, we tend to just breathe with our chest and our neck. So breathing with your whole torso, with your back body, with your belly, allows for naturally deeper breathing and helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is activated when you're at rest. And what we'll move into next is the practice of embodied self-compassion. And what I mean by that is simply practicing holding your body and spirit with a sense of care. And so we'll practice first holding the whole body, and then practice holding three of our main emotional centers, our head, our heart, and our bellies. And simply holding those places with a sense of care. And I'll show you what I mean. So first, come back to that sense of your personal space, the space around you that feels like yours, your personal bubble. If that's a little too abstract, you can just come to a sense of the outer limit of your body, where your body ends and the outside world begins. And once you're connected with that sense, Just practice holding that space around you with a sense of care. It could be that just holding that space with gentle attention is enough, and that feels good on your nervous system. You could connect with a sense of warmth, a sense of light, a sense of a cool breeze, a sense of being held. Um, if you get a visualization and that's helpful, great, but you don't need that. Whatever feels like the simplest, easiest, most effective way that just helps your nervous system to feel good, that just helps the space around your body to feel good. And just practice hanging out there for a moment. Practice enjoying holding yourself, offering yourself the just right sense of holding. And then next, coming into our bodies, come to your head space and come to awareness of the space around your brain. And practice holding the space around your brain with a sense of care. Whether you're holding it with a sense that's more warm or cool, more firm or soft, more tight or loose, whatever feels good for your brain space. Sometimes we're so caught up in our thinking and our planning that we forget that our brain is also a physiological body part, and that we can work to hold that space with less tension simply by bringing physiological awareness to that space. Just tuning in to what feels just right and easy to access moment to moment. And you can continue to hold the space around your brain, or if it feels good, you can invite that sense of care to fill up the space of your brain, front to back, side to side, top to bottom. Really holding the whole of your brain with a sense of care. And if at any point you run into any difficulties, anything that any little hooks or blockages in any of these different spaces, you can practice holding those things with a sense of care as well. Obviously, if something's acutely painful, then you can do something to shift that, change what your practices, go back to just focusing on breathing or one of your senses or something like that. But otherwise, just practice holding those things with care. This is what I mean by embodied self-compassion. The act of compassion is simply holding oneself with care. And sometimes that's enough to make really deep changes on an emotional, spiritual level. And if not, that's the thing that takes off the edge of urgency, and you can approach whatever's there from a more stable and grounded standpoint and take whatever actions needed. And from here, you can take a moment to invite that sense of care to flow up to your crown, to the top of your head, and down to your throat. And next, coming to your heart space, you can place a hand on your heart if it feels supportive, and practice holding the space around your heart with a sense of care. Whatever sense of care your heart could use, whether it's similar or different to the forms of care you've already accessed. Tuning into whatever feels just right. and allowing yourself to enjoy this as a practice. Like I said, there's no right way. There's nothing to be good at here. It's just a practice of enjoying caring for yourself and offering what you can, moment to moment. And you can continue to hold the space around your heart with a sense of care, or you can invite that sense of care to fill up the space of your heart, front to back, side to side, top to bottom. Then allowing that sense of care to flow up to your throat and down to your diaphragm or solar plexus. Next, coming to your belly space, practicing holding your belly with a sense of care. You can place one or both hands on your belly. I kind of like to take both arms and give my belly a hug. And just practice offering your belly whatever felt sense feels good. Really allowing your belly to be a belly, to be as big as it wants to be. And offering whatever felt sense or texture or form of attention helps your nervous system to feel good. And you can continue to hold the space around your belly with a sense of care, or you can invite that sense of care to fill up the space of your belly, front to back, side to side, top to bottom. Not needing to make anything different. Just practicing cultivating wellness and nourishment as much as it's available moment to moment. And then inviting that sense of care to flow up to your solar plexus or diaphragm and down to your root or your pelvic floor. Then taking a moment here to connect your whole emotional, spiritual core from the top of your head to your root, to your pelvic floor, connecting all the places we've touched into already. Bringing that sense of care and nourishing holding to any places in your torso, your neck, and your head that we haven't touched into already. And also inviting it into your limbs, down to your fingers and your toes. Coming again to your personal space and allowing that sense of care to emanate outwards into that personal space. And then taking that sense of care that we've generated already and allowing it to radiate in whatever sense of spaciousness that it wants to. If it wants to stay close and just be there for you, you can hold it that way. And if it wants to be expansive and expand further out into the room, out into space further, to connect with any other beings that you want to be in support of, you can imagine it stretching out and offering it to those you want to care for in this moment. And returning to your physical body, attuning to your nervous system, and just noticing what feels okay or good moment to moment. You might notice one or two particular places that stand out. Could be the soles of your feet, your heart, your hair, could be anywhere. Or you could let your attention be more diffuse and just let your attention flow through your body, just whatever feels good moment to moment. But just for the next handful of breaths, we'll just have a bit of open practice, attuning to whatever feels okay or good moment to moment. If you find yourself drawn away from what feels good, just simply notice that and gently bring your attention back to what feels okay in the next moment. And then attuning to your senses, you can find one sense that feels particularly good from your senses, or you can allow your attention to flow between your senses. Whichever it is, just practice enjoying your senses. Enjoy the natural aliveness that's there. Not needing to make anything happen, not needing to strain for pleasure, but just enjoying whatever is naturally available by being in connection with your senses. We'll do this for another handful of breaths. And finally, the last thing we'll do is we'll do just a little bit of resourcing. And by that, I mean connecting with a source of support. And so take a moment to identify some support. It could be a sense of a loved one, it could be a sense of a spiritual entity, an ancestor, a place, an experience, an animal, a plant. Whatever feels like a source of natural, clean support and nourishment for you. And once you have a sense of connection with whatever source of support, just practice receiving whatever nourishment and care is available from that support. Not straining, not needing to make anything happen. but just practice receiving whatever care is available when you connect with that relationship. Again, we'll do this for a handful of breaths. And to wrap up this meditation practice, we'll just practice a little bit of gratitude. So, first, taking a moment to offer gratitude to all the beings who have cared for and nourished you to arrive here at this moment. And then offering some gratitude to yourself for all the work you've put in to care for yourself to arrive here in this moment. And then taking a moment to offer some gratitude to all the beings that we get to love and nurture in this lifetime. So that's really it for the formal practice today. And before we get to a little bit of question and discussion time, I just wanted to offer a little bit um, about nourishment and orienting to nurturance and nourishment and why it's so foundational to how I lead meditation and how I practice, and why it's so valuable, I think, in approaching caring for ourselves and the people we love in a world that makes that difficult. There's there's a lot of content out there currently. I don't know if all of you follow it as closely as I do, but being on Instagram and social media while going through grad school meant I was like in the thick of it. And I've had to sift through that amongst my own healing process and supporting clients through their own. And it's really a lot. It's a lot to try to make sense of. Um, but really, at the most foundational level, um, what gets a little bit deeper than a lot of what we talk about with like positive thinking and things like that is just the act of attuning to nourishment. Because if you can attune to nourishment and get yourself nourished, that's what helps to heal and helps to nourish the wounds that we might carry with us. It's what helps give us energy to make it through the day, to connect with the people we care about. And it helps to identify the relationships that are the ones that are the most sustainable, which are the ones that I actually feel nourished in real time. And it's hard to know what that is without practicing and having some sense of your nervous system and what's happening in real time. So when we can practice it on an individual level and also practice it in relationship with other people, we start to feel into what's happening in real time, what's happening in my nervous system. And when I know what's happening in my nervous system, it's easier to separate out what's mine versus what somebody else's. And it also helps us discern what actually needs work. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you orient to what's wrong, our brains will find things that are wrong. You can do that for forever. Our brains are trained to be able to do that. They need to, it's important to an extent, obviously. But if you're just at a cognitive level looking for things that are wrong, your brain will be able to find something that's wrong for forever. Life always has loose ends. But when you orient to nourishment, one, you directly offer something to yourself and offer something to the people you care about. And within the act of doing that, you find the places that really stand out, that get in the way of nourishment. And, you know, my perspective might be limited, and I certainly can be wrong in some ways, but I think the problems of the world on individual levels, on relational levels, on community levels, and at like larger socio-political levels are all problems of nourishment, of not people not getting the proper nourishment and care that they need, not being fully respected as human beings and not getting the care that they need, whether that's in individually malnourished relationships and connections, or that's broader socio-political issues, whether it's an issue of neglect or an issue of violence. And so simply orienting to nourishment and those basic levels of self-compassion and compassion for others that start with that act of holding and really attuning to nervous systems really sets a foundation from which other action can be taken with a sustainable um, orientation, at least to my mind. And what I find and what seems to be a cool thing about it is the more you practice on an individual level and the more you do it in connection with others, you start to care for yourself, start to care for others, start to find what feels nourishing to your nervous system, what feels nourishing in connection with others, what feels nourishing in terms of building healthy and sustainable community and chosen family. It actually takes less and less effort, less and less strain. You learn how to sense into, okay, there's a wall there, there's an invitation here. This is what I can nurture productively. And when I nurture that thing productively, I've got more resources to struggle against the things that need to be struggled against. So that's my best attempt at wisdom for the day. And I'm going to end the recording, and we can have some Q&A.